In focus now, Republican Congresswoman Cammack of Florida, member of the subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government. How about the snoozization? That's not even a word. But was somebody asleep with a switch? What in the world? You're defense secretary.
It's crazy, Harris. I mean, leave it to the Biden administration to take something routine like an elective surgery, which happens often with members of Congress, with members of the administration, and botch it. I mean, this is dangerous incompetence. It's not just incompetence. It's not just a lack of transparency. It is dangerous because not only, which has been pointed out multiple times, are our men and women in uniform and our military installations abroad under constant attack, particularly in the Middle East, but there is a heightened level of engagement around the globe. And when you have the Secretary of Defense, sixth in command, out of commission, his deputy not even knowing that he himself is out of commission in the ICU and on vacation. I mean, this is absurd. This just is another example as to why actions have consequences. And I go back to the 117th Congress, Harris, when there was a vote under Speaker Pelosi to grant a waiver to allow Austin to become Secretary of Defense. Now, the rationale back then was, well, you know, it's been done before, so we should do it again. I was proud that I voted against granting Austin that waiver. He should have never been Secretary of Defense because he was a failed commander when he was in control of Central Command. In fact, when I was at the Naval War College, he was a case study in failures of leadership. We've known back then, and he has demonstrated, whether it was then with the botched Afghanistan withdrawal or now his lack of communication, he is not fit to be the Secretary of Defense.
Look, when we learned about that secure call that's brought about by the Situation Room and all they knew was that he was in the D.C. area, there are so many questions now about, was he trying to hide something? And look, there are HIPAA laws, there are all sorts of things, but there's transparency that the people need to know in this country. And we didn't vote for him, as you just pointed out. That's not a person that we voted for. So if they're in charge of something that directly affects our well-being and national security at home and that of our soldiers and all branches of the military around the world, I think we need to know about it as a public. All right, and I'll move on to this. 2 days before the first House hearing on impeaching, speaking of our security, Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he is at the border in Eagle Pass, Texas, meeting with officials and Border Patrol agents talking about the illegal immigrant crisis that he has called simply a challenge. House Speaker Mike Johnson was just in Eagle Pass, as we know.
The White House, the administration, Secretary Mayorkas have put a welcome mat out. I believe Secretary Mayorkas is an abject failure, but it's not because of incompetence. I believe he has done this intentionally. I think these are intentional policy decisions that he's made, and I think there must be accountability for that.
Congresswoman
Harris, as we would say here in the South, he's a real peach. You know, he has lied repeatedly to Congress. He has been negligent in his duties. He needs to go. He needs to be impeached. Our national security depends on it.
Do you think it'll happen?
Absolutely. I have yet to meet one Republican. Heck, I even know of some Democrats that are anxious to get rid of him. And let me remind you, when behind closed doors, we told him, you're getting ready to be impeached. He said, you're not going to like who comes next. I asked him if that was a threat.
Whoa.
He just smiled. This man is dangerous. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he is two-faced. We need to get rid of him now.
What did he mean, who comes next?
Well, that was the big question. I asked him, I said, is that a threat? And he just smiled. And I thought, this man knows exactly what he's doing. This is 100% by design. They want an open border crisis, whether it is for a election, whether it's for future votes as they work to get rid of citizenship as a requirement for voting. We're not sure, but he was very, very clear in what he said, and there were other members in the room. So I will never forget that. And as we go to impeach him for his negligence, for him destroying our national security and eroding our national sovereignty, that will be top of mind.
Yeah, I wish somebody had gotten that on tape so we could play it over and over. Perhaps we will, when you guys go into session with him to ask questions, bring that back up. That sounded like a threat. And as you said, it's got politics behind it. Okay, thank you so very much for being with me, getting us started today. Some big, heavy, important topics today, and we'll move forward. Congresswoman, thank you.